This is my best kind of show notes because we didn't touch one of them, not even one of them. I'm not sure which one is Paul Rudd and which one is Lane Green.
Final card here is the ultimate outcome.
Today is Take Your Dog to Work Day.
Oh, like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. Without further ado, his debut.
Sweet Caroline.
Everybody say hello to Sammy. Is that not good?
I'm just pausing so that you just are at the front of your screen.
I'm so enormously flattered.
Branding is not a bad blind date.
I'm gonna have to take a picture of this.
No, this is agape. This is love.
I really enjoyed this. You did do your homework. You asked great questions.
I'm flattered. Thank you. You just made my day.
Look at you! You are insane!
How did I do that?
You're
How
insane!
Did I do that?
You're insane.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Corona TV. I am happy to see you. I'm thrilled to see you. I'm feeling patriotic. I'm feeling proud. Today, we are honoring the families and our wounded warriors, the families of our fallen heroes. Today, we are celebrating Tom Deierlein. We weren't meant to, but we will be, and I'm going to explain everything in just a brief moment. But first, Alan Gerson is watching. True dat, he says. Good to see you, Alan. I'm nervous now because you know a thing or two about video and production and talk shows and variety shows. And here's amateurish little me putting on a little show called Corona TV. Well, today is not just a special day because Tom is here. It's also a special day because it is Barbie and Barney Backlash Day. It's also National Chocolate Covered Everything Day. What is Barney and Barbie Backlash Day? It's very alliterative, isn't it? I think basically I tried to do a little bit of research. It was confusing, but I think it's a day that we kind of rebel against sing-alongs and repetitive sing-alongs that drive us crazy and stereotypes and maybe just routines that our kids get hooked on or addicted to. This is the time maybe to unplug and tell them a story or do something different with them. Now, here's a little fun fact that you may not know. Does anybody know what Barbie's full name is? Barbie is a nickname. What is Barbie's full name? I mean, I could ask you the question and have you tell me in the comments, but of course you could just cheat using Google. So I'm going to tell you. Her full name is Barbara Millicent. It's like magnificent, you know what I'm talking about. Maleficent, right? She's the evil queen in one of the Disneys, in Sleeping Beauty, I think. Barbara Millicent Roberts. There you go. And we're backlashing against Barbie, against Barbara, against all the Robertses today. Because we are focusing on hope, positivity, and optimism in that order. Now, George Tannenbaum was meant to be the guest. He had a client conflict, canceled late last night, turned out to be an absolute godsend because I immediately reached out to my good friend, Tom Deierlein. And I said, Tom, it's your gala tonight. It's the TD Foundation's gala tonight. The gala is all virtual. Let's celebrate you by bringing you onto the show. Timing is everything. Things work out for a reason. You may not realize at the time, but they always do. And so I'm so happy that he's going to be coming on soon. But first, let's say a few happy birthdays. Gary Morris. It was the first gig that I got when I left the agency world, was working with consultant Gary Morris on a Microsoft project. He said something to me that I never ever forgot. He told me that my zip was open, and no, that wasn't it. What he actually said to me was, people hire consultants for three reasons. One, they don't have the capability. Two, they have the capability, but they don't have the expertise. Or three, they just don't have the time. And I always remember that. I never ever forgot that. So Gary, I hope you're watching, and thank you for that life lesson. And then, of course, on LinkedIn, a bunch of people, I always scan to see if anyone has been on the show before, because you always get a special mention when you become part of this growing community. There's no one. But today I want to talk in my soliloquy, and the soliloquy is called, appropriately, I think, Thank You for Your Service. What is patriotism? What is courage? What is bravery? What is self-sacrifice? Tom Deierlein knows. He was critically wounded in Baghdad serving our nation. Through his TD Foundation, he continues to serve by helping the families of fallen heroes and wounded warriors. Tom is a patriot. Tom is a hero. Tom is my friend. Tom, thank you for your service. Those words seem these days almost cliched, but it is the absolute least we can do to express our gratitude to those who guard the front lines and keep us safe while we guard the remote control and our personalized Netflix recommendations. These days, thank you for your service has spread beyond members of our military to include our frontline healthcare workers who have literally put their bodies on the line, at times without the necessary PPE, in order to keep us safe from another invisible enemy. The term essential workers doesn't stop there. From our teachers who have showed up every day in full body armor, to grocery workers that pack our fruit and vegetables, to those who deliver our takeout, many have stepped up, pitching in and doing their part to make a difference during tough times and adverse conditions. But what about the rest of us? What about the armchair spectators watching from the sidelines? How will we respond when we are called for duty? Or more importantly, what can we do to make a difference? The answer is simple, and the timing is soon. The moment of truth is almost upon us, and we get one more chance to prove that we can unite, pull together, and respond to the greatest challenge in our lifetime. Vaccine confidence is the battle cry. And pretty much all we need to do is expose our upper arm, gently bite our lip, and possibly endure a few days of feeling crummy. As a marketer, I feel emboldened. As an influencer, I feel empowered. As a streamer, I feel emblazoned. I'm ready to take one for the team. I'm ready to take the vaccine live on air and check back every single day to transparently and honestly report back on my symptoms, if any. This is how I feel I can make a difference. Spreading the word and taking the vaccine live on the show. But what about you? This is your moment. This is our moment. This is our ice bucket challenge. This is our time to respond to the call when we are called upon. We stand in the shadows of giants who have come before us, who have done far more than we could ever imagine, who have often paid the ultimate price. Over the days, weeks, and months ahead, we will have our opportunity to make our contribution. And who knows, we might just hear those incredible words back in return. Thank you for your service. Well, now I get to thank someone for their service. Someone who, if I haven't thanked enough, I can never thank him enough. But as I said, not only for his service, but more importantly, for his friendship. Tom is a digital media old-timer. Having first entered the online advertising world back in 1996 with NetGravity, these days he's the CEO of Thundercat Technology, a systems integrator that specializes in data center solutions. Tom has been a single-digit employee and a C-level executive at many successful startups and early-stage companies. A Bronze Star and Purple Heart recipient, Tom is a retired U.S. Army major and Operation Iraqi Freedom vet. In September 2006, he was shot by a sniper and critically wounded. Originally told he may never walk again, he has since completed the Army 10-miler and 2 sprint triathlons. In the fall of 2006, he co-founded the TD Foundation, which provides aid to children of wounded warriors and fallen heroes. They help America's veterans' families in crisis. Find out more at tdfoundation.org. He lives with his wife, Mary Beth, and their 3 sons in Garden City, New York. And sometimes what I like to do is find a video and show the video. Well, I found one on the site. Normally, I say these videos should be 45 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. People have short attention spans. This one is under 4 minutes, and I just could not edit it because it is a perfect video and a perfect length. So please watch this.
Hi, my name is Tom Deierlein. I'm one of the co-founders of the TD Foundation. We're a 100% volunteer organization that provides aid to the children of wounded warriors and fallen heroes. Fundamentally, what we do is we help American veterans' families that are in crisis. We really work with a group of other smaller grassroots organizations, and we help fund some of the cases that they identify and vet. Some of those partners include Operation Second Chance, CODA Support, as well as the U.S. SOCOM Care Coalition, Quality of Life Foundation. Back in 2006, I was deployed to Baghdad in Iraq as part of Operation Iraqi Freedom. And I wasn't kicking down doors and chasing bad guys. I was actually part of a unit called Civil Affairs. And our job is to take care of the non-combatants that were in the battlefield space. So I was working with a lot of my friends in the digital media industry to ship me humanitarian aid, clothes, shoes, food, soccer balls. And in September of 2006, I was shot by a sniper, and I spent the next 8 months in the hospital. It was during this time frame that Paul Bremer, Sean Finnegan, and Bill Flatley got together and started the TD Foundation. Over the first 5 years of our organization, we were mostly focused on helping Iraqi children and children in Afghanistan that had been impacted by war. In fact, during that time frame, we provided over 30 life-saving surgeries to children by grabbing them out of these war-torn countries and getting them out west for life-saving surgeries. Over time, as our operations scaled back in those two countries, we began to shift our mission. And since 2013, we've been focused exclusively here in the United States, providing this care to wounded warriors, children, as well as Gold Star families. So it could be quality of life issues, it could be medical, but it is a lot of utilities, rent, mortgages, preventing veterans and their families from becoming homeless. So last year alone, we helped over 75 families at an average expense under $1,000. 100% of the donations that folks make go directly to these families that are in need. Each year we have 3 or 4 events. For the past few years, we've had the OVO golf event. Today, here at the Ardsley Country Club, we're having our 8th annual TD Foundation golf event, which was started by and run every year by Chris Hogan. Here's a man that saw the cause, saw the folks that were helping, wanted to step up, and he runs this each and every year. And each holiday season we do a gala that brings in anywhere between 200 and 300 folks around the holiday season to celebrate and to give back to the wounded warrior community.
I think this particular cause is something the industry really can get around, because Tom was one of our own before he went off and served our country. The stories we hear about the families we help, they're just so emotionally riveting that you can't help but to get pulled in. You just share it with anybody in the media community and they're like, we're in.
If you'd like to get involved or you have an idea for a fundraiser, an activity, or an event, please reach out. We'd love to have you involved in the TD Foundation.
Peter Naylor, the Benjamin Button of our industry.
He does not age at all.
He just gets younger and younger. But you're looking pretty young, pretty cleanly shaven, ready for your gala tonight, your virtual gala tonight.
Yeah, so I don't think this is an exclusive for Corona TV, but you know, I did start coloring my hair during the pandemic.
You know what? This is why I do the show, is to get these kinds of.
And I got sick of being accused of being their grandfather. Can your grandfather push us on the swing? No, he can't. He's not here. So I tried that out. That's why I'm looking young and fit. I don't know how Peter does it. But yeah, we started off with some pretty heavy stuff here. You know, I was hoping to jump in with a couple of lines from Sweet Caroline as well. Bum, bum, bum. Good times never seem so good. So good.
Guess what? We are going because
thanks for having me, man. I'm looking forward to this, brother. This is gonna be fun.
It's gonna be great. First of all, the last time we saw each other was
I mean your reunion down in New Orleans. I think that there it is.
See, I told you we're gonna have a little bit of fun now. Now you're not in the photo on the left, but Joey DeMont is, and so I had to, you know, and a couple and Burnham is there. They've both been on the show before.
John, he's sponsoring tonight. But,
so
you guys, you must have taken that right before I got, because remember I didn't get there till almost midnight.
I was told, I was given one piece of advice, which is limit yourself to one hurricane and only one. Do not have two, because they are exponentially more potent and powerful. And then you arrived and bought pretty much around for everyone. And after the third or fourth one, all I know is there were syringes going into my mouth with Jello.
Well, and that was the thing, because I guess I was trying to play catch up. I didn't even know if you remember that, because as soon as I saw that photo and you started talking about allowing yourself only one, I'm like, I don't think you remember. When I got there, the first thing I did is send 6 hurricanes to the table. But yeah, like we're not 25 anymore, right? So those hurt. You really do need, you know, this isn't spring break, your senior year of college. Like 2 hurricanes are going to knock you on your butt.
Well, you know, you arrived like a hurricane. You are that force. You are that tour de force. Sean Finnegan is here. He says, go TD. Leslie Laredo says, hi, Tom. Michael Donnelly says it's pronounced Gala, not Garla. Sorry, you know.
Well, no, that's a real thing. I've been calling it Gala. It's Gala. It's Gala. I've been saying Gala, and it's actually Gala.
And I say Gala, and I say Gala as a South African.
Yeah, Gala. In fact, I had a house down in Daytona Beach, 15 years ago, and it was Gala Drive, but Gala Drive, 220 Gala Drive in Daytona Beach, Florida. So I've been taught a little bit. It's Gala.
Joey reminds us that we had at least two within moments of you arriving. And Richie Glassberg says TD rocks.
Richie's another guy don't be fooled if you don't see me giving him a shout out tonight, because there was no one that got me more motivated to pull this off. And when he found out that we were doing it, he jumped in. He's not officially a board member. Maybe I'll have to invite him. But he was a big part of getting us set up and focused. We pulled this thing together in like 3 weeks, because it wasn't very gritty of me, because I thought, hey, we can't pull this off. And everyone's got Zoom fatigue. But I did 2 meetings with my board and Richie, and I came away like, yeah, let's do this. And then Sean and Josh and Karen at the room stepped up. Pretty excited. I'm nervous. I'm nervous for tonight, right? The technology, the platform, and the storm. But I just can't think. It's funny, all these people see Michael, Leslie, these are all the folks we're going to see in 6 hours. So,
well, just remember, Tom, it's 2020, so anything can happen. And I still have on my bingo card the crab people that will emerge from the center of the earth and basically start to eat us as appetizers. I'm holding out.
Wasn't there like a May? Wasn't there did you see that meme? It was like there was a snowstorm in May. I remember when it snowed like the first week in May, and then someone's like, something I never thought I'd say is, I'm worried about a murder hornet getting stuck in my mask as I shovel snow in May. Words I thought I'd never say. The murder hornets got in my mask while I was shoveling snow.
And look, here's one more thing. Don't look now, but I think Jupiter and Saturn might collide, apparently. So, no, I don't think that. But they're actually in the sky. They're almost on top of one another. And it is the first time I think it's happened since my good buddy Copernicus was on the show.
But I did see something about that they're gonna align. So here's a quick quiz for you, Joe. How many planets are there?
How many planets are there? I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm showing my ignorance. 8 or 9. I'm going to go with. There was Pluto. It's not a planet. Let's go with 9.
You're right. It is either 8 or 9. I was taught 9. I was taught Pluto was a planet. I feel like there was a 20-year dig where Pluto got booted. The correct answer is 8. So my kids' school did a trivia night, and they had all these really fun questions, and it was really well done. It was obviously all via Zoom, different families chiming in, but their answer was 8. And I'm like, no, I want my kids taught 9. Pluto is pissed, but yeah, that's how many planets. It's 8 these days. They say it's 8. I thought a couple years back they said Pluto's back, but
Tom, I'm grateful that I didn't say 14 or like 1 or something like that. You wanted us to start off light. We're going to start off light with some fun facts about you, my friend. So I wonder how much the world knows about you. Probably the world knows a lot about you, but maybe for some people they don't. Well, here's fun fact number 1. You are one of 9 children. Is that correct? One of 9.
Yeah, I'm 8 out of 9 from the White Plains Deierlein family.
So 8.
Mary, Charlie, Bobby, Rita, Susie, Jeannie, Kitty, Tom, Billy. 9 of us.
So you really can remember everyone in order.
Yeah. No, well, because you're just so used to saying it, and I obviously know all their birthdays. But Barry Williams, about 2 years ago, maybe 3 at this point, I ran into him at Terminal 8, getting ready to jump on an American flight. And he was eating it. Is it Bobby Vans? It's right there in Terminal 8. And I couldn't help it. I had to say something. And so I go up. I waited. I kind of watched until he was wrapping up, so I wasn't like walking over as he's sticking steak and eggs in his face. And he was with a friend. And I walked up and I said, "Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just." Big fan of yours, and I want you to know that I greatly appreciate it because you provided me thousands of hours of entertainment when I was growing up. And have a great flight." And I walked away. And my wife says, "Thousands of hours?" I go, "Thousands of hours. Like, I've seen every Brady Bunch episode 3 or 4 times. Like, thousands of hours of entertainment that the Brady Bunch has provided to my siblings and me."
So it's a different kind of thank you for your service. Well,
yeah.
So here's something else. You are a bit of a world traveler. You've traveled to 46 states and over 50 countries. I'm also just at under 50 countries. So I always like to. Well, first of all, let me ask you a question about the states. Which states have you not visited?
So Alaska, Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota.
North Dakota.
So Alaska, obviously that's tricky. But for all the time that I did work with consumer packaged goods, I literally never made it out to Omaha. So, I've tried to look for excuses. And then obviously I've never seen Mount Rushmore. But yeah, Alaska, Nebraska, North Dakota, and South Dakota.
You obviously want to. At some point, you've got to be able to complete the grid.
Yeah, I think it's once I've got the kids now, so I got to wait until they're a little old enough. Look, we were just like a lot of people in the beginning of the pandemic. We're like, let's grab an RV and get out of here and just drive. And I'm like, then you're like, that's dumb. I shouldn't say that. Probably some of our listeners did do that, but I'm like, I want to be in my house with my toilet paper and my sanitizer and my grocery store around the corner. But some people got that cabin fever real fast. And my wife did say, "Hey, let's, school's over. Let's grab the kids and drive." And I was like,
I actually think that was probably one of the greatest opportunities that people had if they took advantage of it, which is to really just travel the roads, and rack up those states. Tom, let's move globally now for a second. The final fun fact about you is you have run with the Bulls 3 times. I actually just recycled this image because Jan.
Yeah, let me go. I'm going to grab one.
This is the first time. One of my guests has actually had to go to the toilet, I assume, during the show. So if any, wait a second, he's back.
Wait, there I am, right next to the bull. I don't know if you can see me there.
I see. Go a little bit to your left.
Right next to the bull. You see me just off the bull's horn. I'm like running.
What was that like?
You know, you want to like be cool, right? But like, I'll have to send you that photo later. But it's like I am like terrified that this beast is going to run me over. I think, like a lot of things, I'm sure it was different in Hemingway's day, and I'm sure it was very different 200 years ago. It's become very commercial, very party oriented, and I think less safe. I mean, I think that, you know, in 100 years, they had 9 deaths. And then the last 20 years, it's so crowded. I feel like they've had 1 or 2 like a year and more severe injuries because the area which they block off, right? So it's a half-mile run. You're not going to outrun the Bulls, right? Like the trick is to sort of run while you're looking over your shoulder and at the right time, get out of their way. That's the first rule. Second rule, you don't want to be on the outside of a turn, right? Because as the bull is running, it starts to slide on the cobblestones and smacks up against that side. So you want to be on the inside turn, not where the bulls are going to slip and slide into the barriers. But when it's packed and you can't move and everyone's pushing and shoveling and jostling, people are falling and people are ending up smashed up against the wall. So I think it's gotten less safe. It is an adrenaline rush. I did it back in '93 with a buddy of mine, Shields Blankenship. We drove the 20 hours from Berlin to Pamplona over the Pyrenees, and then partied for 2 days and then drove back. Like it was a 4-day weekend. So like we literally left right after duty, drove for a day straight, partied for 2 days straight, and then drove for a day straight to get back.
I'm going to file that information about the slipping and sliding on the cobblestones in the folder of things that I will never, ever need to actually listen to or adhere to, because I'm not going anywhere near of the Bulls. Tom?
No, I appreciated my cross-country experience, right? Because, you know, Van Cortlandt Park or whatever, you know, wherever you're running, you used to start on a line that was like 100 yards, but there was like 200-300 runners, and then you would all run to a choke point. And there was a lot of elbows flying and jostling while you're running. So I would like to credit good old Coach Krebs at Archbishop Stepanak for getting me through the running of the Bulls in Pamplona.
Well, there you go. That's one of those things you don't know when that advice is going to come in handy, but it did. Tom, what is the best country that you've ever visited, or the most unusual, the most memorable country? And then what is the worst?
Ooh, the worst. I don't like that. So I kind of cheat on Portugal because I was in the Azores. So that's a little unusual in that I never really have been to Portugal per se. I've been to the Azores, so I checked the Portugal box. Related to Pamplona, one of the greatest little cities is San Sebastian, up on the north coast there, about an hour north of Pamplona. And it has just this charm to it. And whenever anyone's ever asked me, like, if you could go anywhere in the world or what, I always say, like, you know, or people are talking about a honeymoon in Europe, I say, look at San Sebastian up on the north coast of Spain. It's just this cute, quaint little town. And I did stay there for a couple of nights back in 2000. My favorite place, I lived in Berlin for 3 years when I was in the military. So I love there's something about that town that I really love. I just went back there with a group of my friends for the 30th anniversary of the fall of the wall. Back last November. So Berlin is certainly at the top. My favorite island, Turks and Caicos. And again, that island's getting more and more commercial. But when I first started going there 25 years ago, it was untouched. Sort of like Sean Connery when he first fell in love with the Bahamas, you know, and then over the next 30 years, the Bahamas got developed with the resorts and commerce.
Discovered Atlantis. Look, I asked you a bit of a biased question, which is what is your least favorite? Because I was going to ask you and say, well, was it Iraq? Was it Baghdad? And that's a segue, obviously, into your unique story and looking back, which I'll ask you to do later. So you don't have to answer that right now, but you've obviously visited a few countries most of us will never visit in our lifetimes. One of them is Iraq. One of them is the city of Baghdad. I showed the video clip at the beginning, but I would love, in your words, for you to tell us your story.
Yeah. So, I got interviewed by NBC Nightly News back, this is, in 2007 or 8. And the guy's doing the interview and he's like, so, will you ever go back? I'm like, I'm never going back there. Because, he wanted to ask a question. I'd be like, yes, I look forward to going back. And you hear about these veterans that now go back to Korea, or they go back to Vietnam, and it's a different view. So never say never. I will dive into the full-blown story, but what I will say is when I got there, I made the decision that I was going to give up 1.5 years of my life to go do this, 12 months, boots on ground. And I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to be there, I am going to make a difference. Like I knew what my mission was, and I wasn't kicking down doors and chasing bad guys. I was doing reconstruction and humanitarian aid and economic development. And I tried to embrace myself to be a resident of Baghdad, to be a part of Sadr City and the rebirth, what I was considering post-conflict. But the reality is we were still very much in the middle of it. So I don't hate Baghdad. I don't even hate the guy that shot me. He was just better at his job that day than I was. So in terms of if you want me to run through the full story, I can, but I mentioned I was in the Berlin Brigade. So I graduated from West Point in '89, infantry, airborne, ranger, and then you went off to my assignments in Berlin. But when I decided to go to West Point when I was 13 years old, I thought I'll go to West Point, I'll go in the Army for 5 years, and then I'll get out and be a successful businessman. And I didn't know what that was, right? I just know my dad got on the train to the city. He came back and there was macaroni and cheese on my plate. So I'm not even sure that a 13-year-old has a sense of what different people do for a living. And I went ahead with that plan. I went to West Point. I went infantry. I went to the Berlin Brigade. I was there right after the wall came down. And then I put in my paperwork and got out at the 5-year mark, or just under 5 years. And originally my intention was to be a part-time soldier, go in the National Guard or the Reserve. And oddly, when I got to Fort Dix in Jersey, they said, well, you're going to be a first lieutenant in the reserves. I'm like, well, wait a second. I just got promoted to captain. I'm going to be captain here in like 20 days. They're like, no, you're getting out. So you're not a captain. You're a first lieutenant. And so you're going to be a first lieutenant. No, don't worry. It'll only be a couple of years and then you'll make it. I'm like, what? Like I'm going to be captain in 20 days. So I decided not to go in the Reserve or National Guard, but instead I went to something called the Individual Ready Reserve, the IRR, which is, you're sitting on your couch and they mail you a form. Hey, you still live at this address? Yeah. And then eventually, hey, do you still live at this address and do you have a mobile phone? Yeah. Do you live at this address and do you have an email address? Yeah. and I never thought much of it. I thought that if the balloon went up, I could raise my hand and volunteer to go back in. But so that's when, I went into sales and marketing, digital media. Buddy of mine, right? We didn't even call it the .com. It wasn't even called the .com yet in '96, right? A buddy of mine that knew I enjoyed New York City, knew I liked startups, he knew that I could sell tech, was working for Net Gravity. And he said, hey, man, you've always wanted to be at a pure startup. There's less than 60 people here. You've always wanted to live in New York. You can live and work in New York, and you've always wanted to be at an early stage company. I'll give you everything east of the Mississippi. Great. So 2 weeks later, there I was up on the Upper East Side selling ad server for Net Gravity. And I did that for the first few years of the .com bubble. Banged out my MBA, met Nick Nyan from Dynamic Logic. He was a guest lecturer at NYU, and I started talking to him about his company. He's like, how do you even understand what I do? I'm like, no, I know a ton of people that would use this. And he and I met over a few coffees and beers, and eventually he hired me. And that's what I did from 2000 until 2005. So, got out in 93, basically 12 years out. We just got acquired by WPP and the kind folks at Millward Brown. And I got a call back, right? And I said, man, I think maybe you and I have talked about this story, So it's almost like either a Forrest Gump or like an Abbott and Costello who's on first, right? Like I get on the phone with St. Louis Personnel Command, and I'm like, Deierlein. They're like, yes. I go, Delta, Echo, India, Echo, Romeo, Lima, Echo, India, November. They're like, yeah, you're called up. I was like, Thomas J. Deierlein Thomas J. They're like, yes. And then I start reading my social security number. And the guys are either like, this guy is dumb. Or he's like, he's getting a ton of these calls because they were calling people up by the hundreds. So he handled it pretty well because this went back and forth for 10 minutes until he clearly said, yes, Thomas J. Deierlein, 10/11/67, 38-year-old infantry. Yes, you are coming back for a year and a half. I was like, I don't think so. And eventually,
but I'm a captain of industry. I'm not a captain of the army.
That should have been that's funny. That should have been my first clue. Like, so this happened in 05, but like so I got out in 93, and like in 2001 or 2, I got a letter in the mail that I'd been promoted to captain. So I knew they were still tracking me. There was a lot of people that when they got called in said, I'm not in the IRR. And so they didn't even know. Like, I knew. We talked about the iMedia. Like just 6 months earlier, we'd been at an iMedia in San Diego, and I used my military ID to get us on a naval golf course. So it wasn't like I didn't know that I was in. So then I had to decide whether to fight it or go. And, I did think about fighting it. And, eventually I called it the shaving test.
Could you have, by the way, could you have fought it if you chose to fight it?
There were people that were hiring lawyers and fighting it. And I'll tell that part of the story next. But it's like, so I thought.
You said the shaving test.
Yeah, the shaving test. So like in order to shave in the morning, you got to look yourself in the mirror. Right. And if I think about why I was successful, first and foremost, it's my family and my parents. Second, West Point. Third, Ranger School. I always, if anyone meets me at a bar outside, walking their dog, you talk to me for more than 2 minutes, I'm going to let it slip that I'm an airborne Ranger, so you can't be proud of those things and see those as critical forging events. And then when it came time for your country called you when you called a lawyer. So right. I just said, I wouldn't be able to, what are you going to tell your grandchildren, right? Like, what are you going to say that when your country called you, you called a lawyer? Like, and so I just decided to go. And, I notified Dynamic Logic and Millward Brown, and they were awesome. They're like, if you decide not to go, we'll support you. You decide to go, we'll support you. They were like, just awesome. Marianne Pacco, shout out, and Nick Nye, and they couldn't have been more supportive of whatever decision I made. And I decided to go.
He was, by the way, he was the good Nick. The bad Nick would have been in the shaving test. Had you called the lawyer, you would have got a bad Nick. That's the bad Nick in the shaving test.
Clever. I see how you did it there. I see how you did that there.
Our agency, dynamic logic days coming back there.
Yeah, no, the ad index, man. No, Nick was a great leader and a man of values. I learned a lot from him. And I would still consider him somebody that's a mentor and that I'm learning from today. But so then I decided I'm going to go. But 2 days before I report, I'm like literally in my apartment. Like there's a telephone and a used mattress that I was throwing out. All my other belongings had been packed up by the moving company. And all my stuff was in a car. And I'm getting ready to drive to, Fort Jackson, South Carolina. The phone rings. It's personnel command from St. Louis and saying, yes, we made a mistake. You don't have to go. You don't have to report. You're past your MSO, military service obligation. And they said, well, are you going? Are you still going to report? And I said, yeah. Because again, I had hit the switch, right? And hit the gym, get rid of the beer belly and get my running.
You couldn't let those guns go to waste, right? At that point, everything is shining and bristling, and you're like, put me.
No one's ever accused my arms of being guns. Like the push-ups was always my challenge and the pull-ups, but I did pass the PT tests when I got there.
Before you continue, I mean, you've said a few things that I feel, before I forget them, warrant just another pass. I mean, this idea of the shaving test, looking yourself in the mirror, recognizing your call, recognizing your duty, recognizing an obligation, but more importantly, thinking of your kids, thinking of your legacy, and then when given the opportunity to pull back, you still pushed forward. That is not something that you hear about every single day, and it speaks to character, and it speaks to integrity and backbone. It's quite remarkable because ultimately, as I said, this is the story of captain of the army versus captain of industry, and now when we fast forward to present day, you've been able to achieve both. But arguably, this has shaped you, defined you, made you who you are today, and allowed you to touch so many lives. It's quite remarkable to hear it from you, and reconnect with the story. But please continue. I just wanted to.
I mean, but you're bringing up a great point, which is, and this is good for your audience or for anybody. It's like, who would have thought getting shot was the best thing that ever happened to me? And when I tell people that, they're like, what do you mean getting shot was the best thing that ever? I'm like, I'm just a better person. Not that I don't think I was an ogre before, but it's like, I'm just a better version of myself. We mentioned in the video, like, we did 50 life-saving surgeries. I said 30 so that no one would call me an exaggerator. And it's somewhere just around 50. So there's 50 people that are alive on this planet because I got shot. Like, I wasn't starting a foundation. If you think about the lives that we've been able to impact through the TD Foundation, like that doesn't like the TD Foundation never gets formed had I not gotten shot, and so, my wife, my children, I got married to my wife after all of this. I had 3 boys after spending a year in the hospital with a shattered pelvis, right? So, so the rest of the story is, I guess we're cutting to it, right? So I do head off to Baghdad. There was one other chance that I had to go to safety. I had a job in the green zone to do economic development and microloans, but I had already deployed with my team. I had already met with my counterparts. Like, I had a civil affairs A team, and they were going to be out doing missions. But if I wanted to, I could have gone and spent a year in the green zone instead, processing economic microloans for small businesses. And so there was a second chance for me to be smart, but instead I stayed with my team and we ran out the wire, 5-6 days a week. We had a very high op tempo, as they say, operational tempo. And in September of 2006, I got shot by a sniper. Just below my body armor, it came in, shattered my left pelvis, tumbled through, shattered my sacrum, and then tumbled through and shattered my right pelvis. Drew Corbin and the crew saved my life. So, they got me on a board. They got me to a landing zone. They got me to a combat action surgical hospital, CASH. And within an hour, called the golden hour in the military, I was under the knife. I had lost 8 pints of blood. They had to give me emergency blood coagulant. So a shout out to Drew Corbin, another shout out to Jeff Rogers, who was the Eagle first responder that was on site. He was part of Drew's team and just a good dude. A lot of great folks on Alpha 414th Civil Affairs. So any of them are joining us right now or watch this later. Shout out to all of you for saving my life that day.
It's the question as I was watching the video and thinking about you, I wanted to ask you. It almost sounds like a childlike question, which is, were you scared?
Yeah, it's so anyone that's seen me do these keynotes has heard me tell the story, right? So when I first got shot, I go flying back, and I just heard a loud explosion, like boom, and I go flying back, and I see my boots, and my boots stayed on the ground. So I see, like, visually, I feel myself flying backward. But I see my boots staying on the ground. So I thought I had triggered a roadside bomb that had cut me in half. So when I hit the ground, I was just laying there looking up. And I thought, don't look down because, you're going to go into shock and you're going to bleed out. And I remember just looking up, just at the sky and thinking, damn it, like, I can't believe I'm going to die here on this street. That's what was going through my mind. And then I hear people calling, sniper, 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 and then my buddy, Drew Corbin, and this is the funny part of the story, right? So Drew Corbin is calling out to me, Tom, can you walk at all? Well, that's the greatest question I'd ever heard, right? Because if I'm laying there in two pieces, he's not going to ask me to get up and walk. And everyone's yelling, sniper, sniper. So he's like, Tom, can you walk at all? I'm like, no. He goes, all right, hold on. I go, all right, I'm going to pop smoke. Because I have a smoke grenade, right? So you've seen the movies, right? The sniper gets the one person and somebody crawls out to save him. The sniper shoots the second one and shoots. I'm like, no, hold on. Let me pop smoke to, obscure the area. He's like, no, hold on. So like I take my smoke grenade, I throw it and obscure the area. It was purple. And they come in, they grab me, they throw me in a Humvee and get me out of there. Well, that's my side of the story, right? And it's sort of like a Tom Hanks Saving Private Ryan moment because my visual of what was happening is different. So Drew hears me telling the story. He's like, you idiot. I wasn't calling out to you. I was kneeling next to you. I'm trying to save your life and you threw smoke in my face.
Wow.
Here I was thinking I'm the hero of my own evacuation. And instead I'm like smoking out my saviors with the smoke grenade. But look, it was quick action. I was talking to him the other day, and I said, just thank God it was me. Thank God it was me, because if it was you, no way I'm staying calm enough. No way I'm going to remember how to call in a 9 line. So the 9 line's a report that you call to get the medical evacuation helicopter, and there's 9 bits of information you have to give. And if you give it right and you give it correctly, the bird takes off. If not, it creates all kinds of delays. And that dude, so I said, look, dude, I couldn't even name 3 of the 9. You know, so thank God I got shot, not you, because you'd have died on that street. So
it's funny.
you know,
It's funny. So many accounts of how you act, how you cope, how you react under pressure. You never know how you're going to react. You never know what's going to happen in a situation like that. Even, you know, is it the fight? Is it the flight? Is it the freeze? Is it, you know, letting off a smoke bomb in someone's face? I'm pretty sure his name was Drew, right?
Drew Corbin. He's a firefighter down in Austin, Texas. Yeah.
Sure.
And Jeff Rogers is living right here in New York.
I'm pretty sure Drew would back me up on this. If he knew that you would one day become a man that colored his hair, he probably would have let you just bleed out.
Yeah, like he's like, please don't be that vain. You know, it's funny you talk about how else I felt like also. So then I'm in the room and they let me call back to the States and someone's like, oh, are they giving you painkillers? The person asked, and I said, they don't give painkillers to Rangers. And I laughed, you know, whatever. So talking to the guy that was in the OR with me at the time, he goes, dude, you were crying like a little girl for more morphine. They don't give painkillers to Rangers, you know. So he and I have a laugh about that as well. No, it was a very fearful time. When I finally got back to this, I went into shock again and almost died on the flight from Balad to Landstuhl, Germany. I went into shock there. But once I got settled into Walter Reed, you know, 10 days later, and my left leg still didn't move. That, you know, those were some fearful days.
So Tom, we've got about 10 minutes or so before, and then we're going to move over to the Zoom after show. One of the you're one of the few people on the show where I can't promote you enough. I wish I could promote you even more. I've been doing it all week. It's not just to find out more about the TD Foundation at tdfoundation.org, but there is a gala tonight. I've been promoting it on the show all week. People can attend. It's $100, and you know, if you are not enough for them, and you should be. They've also got Brett Favre, and they've got Lisa Loeb and John Lovitz and Sean Finnegan, and who knows which other celebrities are going to show up. There's a silent auction. I'm going to post all of these links in the comment below. I just wanted to mention this as we kind of, wind up today. But you can still attend. And That's what I mean. Forget. You know, look, I no one loves Brett Favre more than me, and just like everyone who had a crush on Lisa Loeb in the mid-90s, you know, and John Lovitz, you know, those are great. But the reality is, we should just promoted Sean Finnegan. Like, he's as big a star, celebrity as any of those folks. We, you know, I think people will go anywhere Sean goes. Ain't that a great guy? And I have to thank Paul Bremer for running that silent auction, John Murphy, Tam Alessi, Molly. It just, the board really rallied over the last 3 weeks to make this happen. And I couldn't be happier. Richie agrees, by the way. Sean Finnegan is the biggest celebrity. He is. We should have just forget all the fancy things. I should have just sent out an email. Hey, join Sean. Yeah, tonight we honor and celebrate Sean. I wanted to talk to you in the time we have left about the concept of patriotism. In my soliloquy, I spoke about ways that other people can show up and step up. Right now, I believe vaccine awareness and confidence is the biggest marketing challenge and opportunity in our marketing lifetimes. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And I think what we've learned through this pandemic is that everyone can report for duty and show their patriotism in different ways, shapes, and forms. I wanted to ask you, what is your definition of patriotism? Yeah, I think that, you know, it's funny, Mike, again, Robert, I'm helping him study, and they're doing American history and beginnings of civics, and they're giving them very basic examples. And, you know, I think a patriot is someone that loves and supports their country. I don't think you have to serve your country to be considered a patriot. I think it's someone that just loves their country.
So I don't think service is a part of that. A patriot is someone that loves their country, and I happen to love America. I mean, warts and all, as they say. I mean, certainly we're not perfect, but I think we're far better than whoever's in second place. So I think that's what a patriot is. I don't necessarily think it involves having to wear a flag on your lapel. I don't think it has to do with certain political views. You know, a good friend of mine who lives out in San Francisco says, you know, once on Flag Day, I don't even know when Flag Day is, and I think I'm a pretty big patriot. And obviously, I just painted my house red, white, and blue. But you know, like, it doesn't have to be visible.
What
right?
about
it's
in
your heart and in your mind? You know,
what
and this
about
person
a flag as a
in San
virtual
Francisco
background?
said his friends gave him a hard time when he was wearing an American flag belt. And it's like, you're not a Republican. I was like, wow, like, when did the American flag become Republican? So, you know, patriotism means that you love and support your country. That's my definition. A person that loves and supports their country.
And having a virtual background of the American flag, that's got to be patriotic as well, surely.
No,
it's my way.
Right. And when I saw that, when I came into this, now we're going on, you know, almost, I'm like, yeah, you know, like, you know, my house, my wife, you know, it had green shutters and like a tannish yellow. And I just painted it a red, white, and got blue shutters. So it's a brick, and I painted it bright white and got navy blue shutters. And, you know, so yeah, when I see the American flag, I sort of get psyched. I get pumped up. I love America. You know, I get it. We trust me, we've got issues, but we're doing it better than anybody else, in my humble opinion.
Well, Carol Walker's asking a question, and maybe we'll use this question as our tease for the Zoom after show. She said, can you call yourself a patriot and not exercise your vote?
Wow, great question, right? So back when I was in the military, I didn't vote because it was sort of like the military should be neutral. But so there was a couple of times when after I was 18 years old where I actually didn't vote. And then I realized that that's not smart. So I voted every year. And then in 2016, I didn't realize I wasn't going to be in New York. I was going to be in Reston, Virginia. I didn't vote in 2016. And I justified it as, well, it doesn't matter, you know, Clinton's going to win in a landslide, yada, yada. But like, what about the local races? What about all those other things? Like, so I spent 4 years, and well, the very next day, literally the very next day, I felt horrible. And not because of who won or didn't win the presidential or local races. It's like, but my voice wasn't heard. So I vowed at that point that I would vote every time. And I've done absentee ballots in the past when I was in the military, but I don't think you have to vote to be a patriot, but I think that I would consider it part of what people call patriotic duty. Why would you not want to vote? Why would you not want to exercise one of the fundamental rights and freedoms that you have as an American? So I think that's a great question. I really think that people should vote. I'm shocked when you see some low numbers. You shouldn't have that.
Thank you, Carol, for that question. And I was going to tease our Zoom after show, but we don't need to. We don't need to tease a Zoom after show. If you want to come and hang out with Tom and myself and our regulars, bit.ly/CoronaTV after show. Tom, I always, one of the things I also do in the show is I find a quote that is always connected, just like the soliloquy, to my guest. You are first and foremost my friend, but you are a patriot. You are also a hero. And this is a quote about being a hero. The quote is, I think of a hero as someone who understands the degree of responsibility that comes with his freedom. And that was said by someone that you might not expect. That was said by Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
So that is your quote of the show, your quote of the day. If you want to find out more about Mr. Tom Deierlein, what an amazing story. And if you want to celebrate him tonight, as we will all be doing tonight, as I said before, all you got to do is go to that URL, and I put it into the comments below, register and be a part of the gala even if you can't attend, maybe you can make a difference by participating in the silent auction. And in general, just find out more about Tom. You know, Tom, your life's work, your purpose has all been changed, galvanized, unified through what happened to you. You said something at the beginning that I will never forget, which is you don't blame, you don't have fault, you don't hate the sniper that shot you. And you said on the day he was just doing his job better than I was. And that is, you know, those are words that you don't hear every day. If you want to hire Tom for a keynote engagement, 100% of his fee goes to charity. He is a busy man, and when he's not doing all of this, he is figuring out which of the Thundercats is his favorite. I think I was a Panthro guy myself, but you can find out about his business, Thundercat Technology. You can even ask him about the Thundercat tattoo. When is it coming? What part of his body will it be on, or will it just be on the t-shirts?
I don't know. It's coming soon. It's coming soon.
You can follow Tom on Twitter, Tom Deierlein, on Instagram, Tom Deierlein, and you can connect with him as well on LinkedIn, Tom Deierlein. Can you tell that this is a digital media OG? Tom, we're almost, in fact, we're at the top of the hour, but I have to ask you the Corona question. How have you kept physically and or mentally fit during 2020?
Yeah, physically fit, not my thing. Mentally fit, if I was under a lot of stress or, you know, I would just go out and smoke a cigar. You know, it's an hour to myself, just sitting there thinking. And it could be, I never did an AM smoke, but like instead of grabbing lunch, I'll grab, you know, an iced tea and go smoke a cigar, or late afternoon, or, you know, yeah, if I was having a particularly stressful or difficult day, a nice mild cigar and an hour to myself would usually cure that. I do wish I ate better and exercised more, but that's my honest answer.
All right, so avoid day drinking, avoid AM smoking, but other than that, a good cigar. Treat yourself to a good cigar, and it will get you back on track. Tom Deierlein, true words have never been spoken.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
There you go. Come join us at the Zoom After Show. Come support Tom tonight, and I will be back tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Corona TV with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. Corona TV is the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing. Thank you for watching Corona TV with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. Corona TV is the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing. The after show on Zoom starts right now at bit.ly/Corona TV After Show. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show at CoronaTV.show. And if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, text Corona TV to 66866 or visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.